Hi, everyone. So I'm Robbie Swale. I'm a coach based in London. And thanks for joining us for this recorded session. And welcome to Justine, to Robin, and to Yoni, who are joining us from across the world for this recording. I'm very grateful to them for joining, and I know that I've recorded a couple of one-on-one calls before, and people have expressed how grateful they are to the people who offered to be recorded. So I want to say a big thank you to all three of them in advance for the vulnerability in diving in and being here for this and having a call recorded and all those things. And also thanks to all the people at different stages who said they didn't want to do this call. I invited some people and some people weren't comfortable with that, and that takes courage as well. Thanks for joining us. I always like to share a little bit about the contracting that I've done with the people that we're recording on these calls, because I watch them sometimes and think, I wonder how it came about. And as a coach, I'm kind of interested in that. So the interesting thing about this one is what I've said to these guys is when I do the one-on-one calls, I'm able to give people a full veto. I've kind of asked a bit more of, offered a bit less to the three people who were on the call with me today. I've asked a bit more leadership and offered them a bit less veto because of the logistics. I've really asked them to be aware that we're being recorded, but also I've asked them to lean into vulnerability and courage and all those things so that we can make this a powerful experience. And we just had a bit of a check-in before the call, but I've been trying a little bit to keep this fairly fresh because we want this to be a real experience. There's a few reasons why I record these calls and offer them. One is that it's a powerful way for people to experience my work before they work with me, and to understand it before they work with me. And I do one-on-one work with clients, but I also offer a couple of group programs, one for coaches and a new one which I've just launched for women pioneering women in their 20s and 30s who are looking to create a really beautiful balance and life of family, relationships, career, and space and time for themselves so that they can really flourish. And I think that's one of the that's one of the stories of the women of our age. And a group coaching program is a strange thing that most people haven't done before. And so offering a group call like this is a fun way of showing that and giving a bit of experience. And I invited these three wonderful people have all been clients of mine in the past or at present, and have all done coaching work. And so there is an element of that this is a call for coaches, but I think that as we get into it, lots of people will find some interesting things to take out of it. It's also just a nice way, I think, of just expanding the awareness of what coaching is. And that's a good thing for everyone, I think, because it's really to really understand it, because it's still a relatively early profession. And you'll see how it can work today. And it's also, I hope, a way for you to get to know three people who I all think are really awesome and wonderful people. I'll put some links to their work in the the description. And so you can look up them a little bit more if you want to. A little tech note. So I'm looking at the camera right now. I've got everyone on my screen. So when I'm looking around like this, I'm just looking at different people. And if I'm coaching someone or talking to them, you can trust me that I'm looking at them. And I don't know what they're looking at. I think a mixture of me and everyone, which is nice. So thanks to everyone. Thanks for you guys for joining me. I really appreciate that. I want to really acknowledge you. So we're going to start, I think, especially with group calls. I often start them from a place of centering ourselves. And so let's do that. We did a little bit before the call, but we'll do a little bit more now. So what I just invite you to do, we're going to just do a short breathing exercise. And I'd say if you're watching, join us in this kind of centered space. And particularly with a group, I think it's nice to breathe together and have that connection, because Justine and Robin are in Australia, Yoni is in the Netherlands, I'm in the UK, and it's a beautiful thing that we can connect in this way. Okay, so just get yourself into a comfortable sitting position. Get yourself physically centered. So feet flat on the floor, shoulders back above your hips, Back straight, but not extended too far. One of my clients recently, after I gave her a centering exercise, shared that just getting herself physically centered on the way home changed her evenings. So an important thing to remember. So find a way for you in this moment to feel centered. I like to rest my hands on something, but you might want them by your sides. And then we're just going to breathe, and we're going to breathe in for 4. We're going to hold for 4. We're going to breathe out for 4, and then we're going to hold for 4. And I'm going to count, and we're going to go around a few times. So everyone just breathe out gently and hold out, and then I'll count us in. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, one more time, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. And then just when you're ready, allow your breathing to return to normal and bring yourself back into the core and open your eyes. For everyone watching there, I was, you might have caught if they were watching and not joining in, which would be very rude, cheating. They would. I smiled with about 2-3 rounds to go because I realized I was worrying. I was like, oh no, how much of this call record am I going to waste just breathing round and round and round? And then I have a practice with slowing down in coaching calls that whenever I worry that I have slowed down too much, I double down, slow down more. So I did an extra round that I was going to stop, because almost always I think coaching is about slowing people down more than they're normally slow. And it's fun to have that practice. It just reminds me, if I feel like I need to rush, slow down instead. So I'm going to introduce these 3. I've told them I'm going to do this, and they don't know what I'm going to say, and so they've got a chance to correct me if I'm wrong after that. But it's a real pleasure to introduce these people. It's been a really nice thing to have an excuse to bring these 4 of us together. These 3 people I really, really like and appreciate, and it's the first time we've ever been on a call, just the 4 of us. It might be the only time in the history of the world, but it's a real pleasure to bring people together. I'm noticing in this moment, I'm also really grateful that technology allows us to do this. We may be less grateful when someone's like laptop falls over in like 10 minutes or the internet crashes, but it's super fun that we're able to be here from across the world and do this. So I'm just like trusting my wisdom of where do I want to start. So Justine is based in Australia, and she is a coach and a current client of mine. We're doing some work together right now, and What Justine believes, and something I believe I really share, is that success isn't success if it's only in one part of your life. Success is only really success when it's the whole of your life. And that's the name of her company. You can find that on her website, Whole Life Success. And we were just talking, one of the things we spoke about, I think in the first conversation we had, was a beautiful Robert Holden quote, which was on her website then. I think it's still on now, which is the next, something like, I'm going to butcher the quote, but something like, the next level of success is about being more who you really are. And that's the way to find the next level of success. And I really believe that too. And it's a vulnerable thing for all three of these people to be on the call, because they're showing themselves to everyone. And in a world where there's a lot of coaches and people have to decide who they work with, this is a challenge for each of them. So I'm really grateful to them all for being here. But that's not just who Justine is, because she brings a whole career to this point, including hours and an enormous amount of supporting people one-on-one and in groups through her work as a social worker. She's run mindfulness and meditation training and brings all that expertise, among many other things, to her work as a coach. So Justine, thanks for joining me. Robin is a beautiful man who I'm really glad is on the call today, and also based in Australia, in Sydney. One of the parts of Robin's story which I love, and I hope you don't mind me telling, you put it in the questions that I gave before this, is that I just know how committed Robin is to his journey. He works as a coach because just as we were getting to know each other, he got offered a job which at almost any other point in his life would have been a dream job, and he turned that job down to stay committed to the work that he was doing. And so I know that this work really matters to him, and I find that story inspiring, and I remember it sometimes, and I'm really happy to be able to share it with everyone today. Robin, you can share the details of that at some point in this call or elsewhere if you want to. I also know about Robin, I know he's got a great commitment, which I really share again, much like I share one of just that part of Justine's work. One of the parts of Robin's work that I share is, I think there's a great depth of wisdom around relationships out there in the world today, and Robin's learning on that has been very powerful. And I hope that we each tap into that learning and relationships in the way that Robin has. That's not the only part of the work he does. He has broad work he does with clients. And again, I won't share them all now, but I know some beautiful stories about the success he's had with clients and the work that he's proud of. And so, Robin, thank you so much for joining me on this call today. And Yoni is the person on this call who I've seen coach the most, because she trained with the coaching school where I also trained in London, and I was a trainer on that cohort, which was a beautiful experience for me. And one of the pleasures of it was getting to watch people coach as they learned and developed. And Yoni is the kind of coach that I love, because she just brings this very natural and beautiful presence, like everyone who coaches, brought not just from their coaching training, but coming from their whole life experience. And the presence and the listening that she does, and the gentleness with which she coaches. And I'm sure she has the ability to cut to the heart of the matter and leave, because gentleness doesn't necessarily mean avoiding the issue. It doesn't necessarily mean not going where the power is, and that's not always comfortable. But that is one of the things that I really admire in her, and something that I try to bring to my coaching. But again, that's not the only thing she does. She brings extreme, decades of career in decades. I'm not sure if that's true. Many years of experience in publishing. She brings her coaching skills to all sorts of other things, interviewing, creating events. She works at a super cool looking, I haven't been, I hope to come one day, bookshop in the Netherlands, where she runs their literary events, but also has agented authors who are published, and all sorts of other expertise. And it's a real pleasure, Yoni, to have you on this call. So thanks for joining me. So we're going to play today. No one knows what's going to happen. That's part of the fun of a group call. There's whole levels of learning that can go on, and I've invited these guys to dive into that. And anyone who's watching, I'd invite to dive in as well. There's a bunch of levels of learning that you can have. You can learn about yourself. That's always available to you. What's going on for me right now? Why am I really annoyed with the way that Robbie just introduced Yoni? This is me noticing myself. I felt like he didn't do it justice. I'm making this up, right? But someone might be thinking that. And what does that say about you? That's interesting. There's something going on for you there if you're noticing that. So you can learn about yourself. You can learn from what I'm doing especially if you're a coach, but also if you're not. You can learn from how is he leading this call? How does he lead a group of people? What's going on right now? What was group coaching with Robbie Swale like? And what's any coaching with him like? Because I'm going to coach each of these people on this call, probably. And you can learn from what other people share, because we are a lot more similar than we realize. So yes, each of these people has a coaching theme to their life, and that's partly why I introduced them today and invited them on the call, but also they're people, and everything they're going through is a deeply human experience, and that's true for everyone who's watching. So we might get really practical and tactical about coaching, and that's fun, and we might get really personal and human, and there's valuable learning in that. So thanks for joining me for all those levels of learning, everyone, and anyone who's watching. And I'm going to start now playing with a question that I say this about everything actually. Actually, no, I want to make this explicit on this call, because this is a group call, and a lot of my learning about group calls, it comes from all my experience, right, of chairing meetings, all the stuff I've done in my life. But I was on a group program where Rich Litvin, who's a coach, was running it end of last year, start of this year. And I learned an enormous amount from Rich on how he runs group calls. And if you go and watch some of Rich's group calls after this, you'll see some of that influence. You'll see me, shamelessly copying some of the things he does. And I don't mind that, because I'm not too proud to say that all the coaching I do is copied, and it's got my flavor, and that's the fun of this work. And there's a quote that I heard Michael Neal share. I don't think it was his quote, but which is that there's no new wisdom in the world, really. There's just no, maybe that's not the Michael Neal quote. The Michael Neal thing is, there's no new wisdom. It's 95% just the wisdom of the world being shared, and then it's 5% flavor. And that's the fun of today. And I'm going to start with a question that I stole shamelessly from Rich as well. It's such a beautiful way to start the call. And I'm going to start with Robin. And I'm going to say, Robin, what would make this an extraordinary call for you today?
Had a feeling you'd ask that question,
Yeah.
But it's funny how it still always catches me off guard every time you ask it. So what would make this call extraordinary? Well, I didn't come into this call with any real big agenda, but I guess one issue that I see a lot that's anyone from Australia might know is that people are having more and more money problems. So this is an area I know that is often uncomfortable for coaches to talk about. So I'd like to walk away with a bit more understanding about this area and more confident about how it fits in.
Yeah, and I think the world we live in brings those conversations about money up as a common thing. So tell me, make it more real for us. Is this more understanding about it? Is this for you? Is it for the clients you might work with? Is it just for the world at large? You want to understand more about money problems?
Yeah, very macro level. I think it starts. I think everything starts with us individually, because that gets reflected in the work we do. We attract what we believe. So there's definitely perhaps some negative beliefs around money, that it's a limited resource that should be saved more than spent, or something like that. Saved more than invested. Yeah, so definitely all the above with what you said.
Yeah. And make it totally clear for us. So just again, you've already answered this, but I want to just ask it again, just to check in. What's the thing you'd walk away with?
I suppose the I'm more confident around the exchange of money, like pricing and buying, selling, all that.
More comfort, is that the word? Yeah, about the exchange of money.
Comfort could be another word.
I was partly checking because of your accent. I wasn't quite sure if I'd heard it right. Like I wasn't being clever and coachy. I want to just share that. But if it was a good question, go with it.
Yeah, comfort might not be the right word because it's kind of a touchy subject. I suppose a higher level of understanding of where it fits in the scheme of coaching, like not charging too much, not charging too little. Yeah, just how it fits into the whole process, because it's a really important part in my view.
Yeah. And I can speak to that a little bit and share my experience and thoughts, but we can also do some coaching around that. Beautiful. And I also want to ask, was there anything that I said about you that was horribly untrue, or that you want to add in so that people get an understanding of you, Robin?
No, it's quite spot on.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Yoni, how are you doing? We saw you were relocating to a different room with a cool looking bookcase. It's not surprising if you work in publishing, you've got a super cool bookcase.
I thought I was hiding myself. I'm fine. I'm recording this from my phone to people watching, which has run out of battery. So now I've had to make some minor adjustments, but it's all good. Thanks.
I love it. I was saying to these guys before we put the recording on that it's important to own the tech stuff that's going on, right? It's like, it's a part of it. It's the price we pay for not being in a room with someone in some ways, but also if you're in a room with someone, it can be disrupted in all sorts of ways too. But yeah, cool. So it's also quite nice actually. Like I like seeing that it's like lighter where you are now. Like it kind of feels a bit different. I don't know if it feels different to you. So tell us, Yoni, what would make this an extraordinary call?
Well, it already is in many ways. I'm very much enjoying meeting two new coaches and having the chance to be coached by you again, Robbie. So that's a great opportunity. What would make it extraordinary is at the moment I am figuring out how to combine a lot of things that I enjoy doing, and when presenting this to the world, sometimes people find this confusing. I believe the British saying is "Jack of all trades, master of none," right? Whereas I believe there should be a way to combine all those different things, and a coach I very much admire, Marie Forleo, calls it being multi-passionate. And I think this is a subject that's close to my heart and a topic I would, if we get a chance, like to explore. So what would make this, what would really help me at this moment, and what would make this call extraordinary is if I could take some wisdom from all three of you in that area.
Wisdom.
And also get clear on what I already, this is also coaching, of course, what I already know and feel about it myself, but haven't really got my head round or found the right words for, or really felt what really matters to me, if that makes any sense.
Tell me it again, that last piece.
Sorry?
Share that with me again. This is like for you guys, like I would share this with you as well, actually, Yoni. What happened there is my mind went, and I'm worried I might have missed something important there. And it's good to name that. It's good you can just ask it again, subtly and slyly, which maybe I did because I was like, I'm on a recording. Can I admit that my attention wandered? But the truth is, it's quite a powerful thing. I think maybe Phil Dalton from the coaching school first shared this with me. Like, what a powerful and trusting thing it is for someone who you guys aren't in this moment, but for someone who's paying you for their for someone who you're paying for their attention to say, I lost my attention there. That's a trusting thing, right? And one of the messages that gives you is every time they don't say, I lost my attention, you've got their full attention. So you know what happened for me there was my thought went somewhere else, and what I missed was something about you and combining it for you.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be that you share.
Now.
Yeah, just tell me again, like, for this call to be extraordinary, there'd be some wisdom around being multi-passionate, around combining all these things that you that you do.
Of figuring out a way to communicate this to potential clients. Because, I mean, in an ideal world, I would work with clients who recognize maybe something of themselves in the various things I do, and aren't taken aback by that, or won't feel, oh, but she's done so many different things. This is a comment I recently got a few times when talking to potential employers. She's done so many things that maybe she's not focused enough to do one. And I think that got a feeling that might be something that more people than just myself are trying to come to terms with. But at least it's something I thought I would bring to this call, because it would really help me personally at the moment. Not only to get my head, but also my heart around it. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. And it strikes me, I don't know if this is true, but it might be actually, it sounds like your head is kind of around it, kind of. Like, you're like, I know, you know, Marie Forleo has this beautiful word for it, and I kind of know that I kind of think that it'll speak to the people that really get me will get it. And I wouldn't be surprised, like, how much did Justine and Robin, did you get what she was saying there about all the things and them communicating that and doing lots of different things and how difficult that is, and the different talents you've had and the different work you've done and wanting to do a few things at once? It might not, so like only if it did, but did it make sense? Justine's nodding. Robin, does that make a bit of sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I get it too. So I want to share that. So it sounds to me, though, the reason I'm saying this is that it's probably more about the heart.
Yeah, and about really owning it, I guess. I guess that's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which will then make it easier to communicate.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for sharing. Justine, tell me, what would make this an extraordinary call for you?
Well, actually, the Robert Halton quote that you made reference to, the next level of success is being more fully who you are, or something like that. And the big question for me, I suppose what would make this extraordinary is to go away from it feeling really confident about myself as a coach. I have, you know, a background of 25 plus years as a social worker. So I've done a lot of therapeutic work, and yeah, so I want to be able to, like, that's, for me, that's a really important foundation of my being able to be a coach, because I've done a lot of one-to-one work with people, and I'm really able to be present for people's emotions and what people are experiencing in the moment. But I'm also concerned that my coaching sometimes falls back into being a bit more therapy-like and not so coaching and not moving forward. So it would be amazing to leave this call just knowing that that's all fine, and that I can continue to draw on everything I know, and that will be really valuable with my coaching clients, and that will be really valuable to help them continue to move ahead and create a life that they love, which is what I want to, that's why I'm doing coaching, because I really believe in that conscious creation of our lives, not just letting life happen to us. Yeah, so I really want to know that what I'm bringing is really valuable for people. Yeah.
I got this, like, when Justine was talking about the 25 years of experience and the way she's able to be really present with people and hold that emotional space. I felt that in that moment. That's what it felt. You probably saw me smiling, like I could really feel it. I'm just wondering, did anyone, like, did either of you guys, I'm pointing down here because that's where you are on the screen, the bottom of mine. Yoni and Robin, did you get a feeling from Justine in that moment when she was sharing about that? Yeah, they're nodding. I mean, I don't think this is what you want, Justine. I'm going to say it anyway, which is, let me get it. So I think we can give you the second part, which is we can vouch, we can give you permission, we can speak with all our hearts, at least I can, that what you have to offer is really powerful for the people who will work with you. And I can give you a little trick, which is what I use, to make sure that I'm happy that it's coaching and not something else. What I can't give you, because I don't believe in this, since this is like a belief, so this isn't really coaching, I don't think we can give you full confidence, because
No.
I don't really believe in that. I think confidence is a bit of a myth and a lie, and I think it generally, the idea of confidence as this thing we have to get before we do stuff, or before we can be good at things, is a really crippling thing for the world. And I wrote a thing once, let me see if I can remember it, which is like, confidence is just the embodied knowledge that if you take action, you can create the things you want to create. And then I found out that Rich Litvin, being the man that he is, had already had like a 4-word, much pithier, much cleverer way of saying it, which is that confidence is a result, not a requirement. And that's how it doesn't matter if that's true or not. But my experience is, if you live from that story, not the story that only confident people do things, then life is better and you achieve more of what you want. Because it's difficult to be confident all the time, and I don't believe that it happens. And I think you can do work to get more confident, and we can talk about that if you like. But that fully confident thing, I'm not sure I believe in. And then I'm going to cut to it because I think it's funny and it's interesting. I trust that it's coaching if the client is going to do something different in the future as a result of our conversation. That's when it counts.
That's good.
And
I feel okay about that.
And if I'm not sure about that, at the end of the call, I ask. And if the call has been messy, because it is sometimes, and it's been focused on the past, because it does sometimes, and I haven't got clear on the objective for the session, because sometimes that's really hard, and sometimes you spend like, if you get too carried away on focusing on the objective for the session, it takes the whole session. And sometimes that's good, right? Because there's that Einstein quote. I'm telling a lot of stories today already, aren't I? It's fun. He says something, I think he said, it might be a Facebook meme that wasn't really Einstein, but the story goes that Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem to save my life, I would spend 55 minutes getting the right question and 5 minutes solving it, which would be. So that's an argument against what I just said about sometimes about staying with that question. But what I would say at the end is, what's something you're going to do differently? And as long as I've got that, then I trust that the conversation I'm having is powerful. Remembering the lamppost from the Prosperous Coach. So like, it's powerful for people to reflect, to spend some time talking about their life. It's really powerful, as we all know, to look at our experiences in the past. And sometimes that's an important part of coaching. And that might be the kind of coaching, the kind of conversation someone will remember for the rest of their life. And as long as I'm confident that they're going to do something different, sometimes I even give them permission. The something different might just be, think about this in the next few days. Then I believe, I'm sure the ICF might say something different about this if you were applying for accreditation. I actually don't think they would. You know, because trusting your experience and your intuition, sometimes it's right to get a really clear action plan, and people think that's what coaching means. And sometimes, but sometimes, like I had some feedback from a client the other day where I'd done that. I'd forgotten this part of the session, but I remembered it as soon as she said it, which was that it felt quite painful. That wasn't exactly the word she used, but she took it away. She referred to a conversation we had, and I'd been really pushing her on the action, on like, well, what are you actually going to do about this? And I can't, you know, that may have been a good instinct in the moment, and it's interesting for her to think, well, was I like, why am I so resistant to answering that question? But it may not have been. And I wonder if I was, in that moment, a victim of my coaching training, which was, I'm supposed to have an action plan by the end of this. And sometimes that's exactly right, and it's exactly what people need. And sometimes it's really not. And the beautiful thing that you can bring, Justine, is 25 years of experience of doing transformational work and supporting people, and trust that experience. And I think because we're trying to create something going forward with clients, that's the safety net I give myself. Maybe in my ideal world, right? They have an amazing insight that blows their minds and their life will never be the same again. And then out of that, it suddenly becomes incredibly clear what they will do over the next 2 months. In fact, they just spill it out to me the next 6 months of their life, like in the last 3 minutes, just like, I'm just going to do this stuff. And I'm going to that, everything's different, right? But that mostly doesn't happen. It occasionally does. So I have a load of, this is, I'm not sure I've ever said this, certainly not in a recording. I have a load of kind of low bar stuff that I check in, right? Did I listen as well as I could? Did I ask mostly open questions? Did I trust that did I stay with the client's agenda? Did I trust my instinct as much as I can? Was I as centered as I could be? And did I ask them at the end, what are you going to do differently? What's one insight? What's one takeaway? Just something in that space so that it's that. And did I ask them at some point, what do you want to do with this time? And those are kind of, maybe I need to write that down. That's just the important thing. And it's just important to remember that these conversations that we have with people, they are unusual in people's lives. Like, they are so unusual and so powerful. And it's so easy to forget, especially if you don't ask them. That's another good practice. Like a really fun one to remind you, really helpful for them, but to remind yourself of the value of your work is, is to ask those questions that I've just been talking about. What are the 2 or 3 things you're going to do different? What's different now compared to the start of the call? And gradually just build up that repertoire of ways to tie up those conversations. Because
can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Good.
Just
let's catch this, right? This is great. I shared with these guys before the call about taking leadership. Great stuff to interrupt me.
Yeah, because you said something a minute ago about people don't often get listened to in this way. And after the very first session I had with you, Robbie, and I was reflecting on it afterwards, it was like, it's such a relief and so beautiful to have that space, and for you just to be really present and really curious about me and what's going on for me. And I have a beautiful partner, and I have beautiful friends and family who really care about me, but it's a different kind of conversation. And it's one of the things I really value about coaching is that. I just want to say that.
And it's tough to remember sometimes because I don't feel confident all the time. And that's one of the things I remember. I'm always better than a lamppost. And it's unusual stuff, really unusual stuff. And if I'm asking people what they want to focus the conversation on, and I'm tying it up in some way at the end, and I'm doing my best in the middle, then it's beautiful coaching and a really unusual experience. So great work on interrupting me. That's a beautiful thing to share. I'm curious now. It could be the same, it could be different. What would make this an extraordinary call for you?
I guess it's not so much about confidence itself, because as you said, you know, that can come and go, and
I want to
but
catch that
for
a little
me,
bit though, because it's like, because I sometimes get that, and it's sometimes hard to get, and I want to check that acceptance of that thing that I offered about confidence. Does that feel true? Like, I don't want you to think that you can't bring confidence back in just because I said that, because I was quite forceful, and I don't want you to think that. So I just want to check that that's true.
Yeah, no, it is, because it's what it's actually more about for me, and which I mentioned before we started recording as well, is that it's really about trust for me, to be trusting. I was going to say trusting I'm on the right path. I know I'm on the right path as a coach, but just trusting that, that all those things come together. You know, my history and what's present and whatever's going on for the client, that all those things come together in the moment that we're working. And to trust that it all unfolds in a way that is really beneficial. Yeah.
I'm feeling a real rush of emotion when you shared that, Justine, because what came to me was, how can it not? How can all those things not come together in the moment that we're working? And how can it not be a valuable and powerful experience that will move things on for both people who are involved?
Mm. Yeah. It's really a privilege to be able to do this work. I've often felt that about social work as well. Like, you know, each conversation that we have that just offers something to someone, you know, makes a difference to someone's life is pretty amazing, really.
You know, it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, and the way that ripples out then, because that shifts something about who they are in their life and how that ripples out to the other people in their world. Yeah, it's a privilege, really.
Made me think something cool. None of us is ever going to be the same again after this conversation.
Mm. Yeah.
What's going on in your body now, Justine? What do you notice if you check in?
Feeling pretty. Headphones are funny because I can kind of hear my heartbeat in my ears a little bit. But other than that, I feel fairly calm and a bit more awake than I was earlier. Yeah.
The smile is infectious. You can see that I'm smiling. Like, it feels big and alive.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna leave you with that for a little while.
Thank you.
Yoni, what's going on for you right now? I can do it. How are you feeling?
Yeah, that's better, right? I can actually see all of you. I'm just really enjoying what I just saw, and yeah, what I love. Can I just share something to Justine about what you just talked about?
Yeah, what I'd catch in this is that Justine, I mean, you know,
Sorry?
I just, for Justine, like, yeah, Yoni, share, right? And what I'd encourage you to do is share honestly. And Justine, just remember, it's just Yoni's truth as she sees it.
I just wanted to repeat one little sentence you said, which is, I know I'm on the right path. When you said that, you sounded so calm and relaxed that I could feel all across I'm at the other side of the world now. Also quite sleepy, but that's because I haven't had any coffee yet. And I just thought, yeah, that's great. And in a sense, it was a beautiful reminder to myself, because I really recognize that doubt and what am I doing? Who am I to do this? And so I just want to thank you for that.
And what is the impact for you of really recognizing that?
It's helping me to reconnect to that place of calm where I think Justine's remark came from. Like, yeah, we got this, you know? It's like I hadn't been in that place for a while, and it's just really lovely to be, like I was saying earlier, to be reminded. And it's it feels like a place where I like to spend time, and I had not been spending a lot of time recently, so it's also a relief, I guess. Yeah.
You're in that place right now?
Yeah.
So from that place, tell us about figuring out how to combine all the things, being multi-passionate. Actually, let me ask you for more. What's the wisdom about combining things and being multi-passionate that you wish you could share with the world?
Can I just, in terms of a technical, not just for the cat, but can I ask you to come back to me later so I can just reschedule a little bit, so it's
I love the
easier for me
cat.
to focus on the conversation?
You need to get rid of the cat. Get rid of the cat.
Yeah,
Then.
it's okay. I'm just
Yeah, of
gonna
course.
take him.
Of course. I'm sad that the cat is not going to be part of it. I was going to ask when we got to the end of our serious coaching, I was going to ask about the cat. But yeah, if you want to sort the cat out, sort the cat
Yeah,
out.
please.
Yeah,
and I'll see you in a minute. Yeah.
Sure. I feel like we should be inviting the cat into the call. Robin. No, I'm going to come back to you, Justine. Justine, tell me what's the impact of hearing that from Yoni, of understanding, look, just another piece of that ripple, right? That even just you sharing a bit of your story ripples out and affects other people and has an impact.
Yeah, it was really lovely to hear that from you, Yoni. Yeah. It just felt good. It just felt lovely, and it's so nice to and also kind of having a sense, of my calm on the other side of the world. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
And you know what? I'll just sneak this in because I think it was just yesterday. I can't remember what I was doing at the time, but maybe I was reflecting on the questions that you sent us, Robbie, although I didn't write this down. But one of the things I realised that it would be really nice if I had some coaches who are friends that I got to connect with, because just to have colleagues, because I have social work colleagues, but this, again, it's a little bit different what we're doing, and it would be lovely just to hang out online sometimes or in person, if there's anyone here, with people that are doing the same kind of thing. And so I don't know if we'll ever do that, guys, but it was nice to have this little connection across the ocean anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really powerful space to be in.
Mm.
And look, maybe some other coaches will watch this too and get that feeling from you as well. I'm sure they will.
Mm.
And I heard your dog barking as well. So I need to go to Robin now to see if he's got any animals nearby that he can bring into the call. Robin, what's going on for you in this moment? You don't have
No
to have
animals. No animals, unfortunately.
What are you?
going on?
What's present for you? What have you taken from that first part of the call?
What really hit me was the ripple story. It's something I realize I've been kind of out of touch with, just how much it affects people's lives. Just one moment, one little ripple can affect a person's whole world. So it just really, like talking about confidence, it makes you feel a bit more confident to put yourself out there when you know the amount of effect, positive effect you can have on someone's life. Yeah.
I want to share a couple of things. One is I want to reflect back. I didn't really say I was going to do this. This is a bit cheeky, but I sent some questions to these guys before the call. And Robin shared a story, a proud moment. Do you want to tell us that story just really briefly in a couple of sentences about the result that you got from that call? Do you remember which one it was?
Yeah, I do. So I really like stories of quick results from a short amount of time coaching. So this was one call. And we scheduled one call in a month's time. And it was just within 1 month. Within that month here, the guy that I was coaching had found a new job and a girlfriend. So the biggest goals he had that seemed so far away after just an hour on the phone together. And it seemed like a really benign conversation. Like it didn't seem like that much would change as a result of it, but it just reinforces the amount of power people have to go after what they want for themselves. Because I really didn't feel like I did much, but that was the result. So it just really reinforces what we do, even if we don't feel like we're doing a lot.
Yeah, and I didn't know that we were going to get to this place, but I think this is a really powerful message when we're talking about confidence, when we're talking about belief, when we're talking about keeping on going, right? And the ripple story isn't just a story for coaches, although it's a really present one, I think. It's a story from everyone, right? You don't know what the impact of the work you're doing is on the world. And one of the things I created an exercise for for the group program that I ran this year for coaches, actually, about like collecting those stories, because the beautiful thing about that story, Robin, is you scheduled in the 2 calls, right? So you got to know that a month on, all this stuff had happened. Sometimes that isn't the case, right? You don't know what the impact of, right? It felt like kind of a benign conversation to you. And I've had coaching sessions like that as well. And you just never know what the impact of that work is. So the exercise, I can send it to you, or I'll put a link in the video notes, is to collect those stories from yourself, from your memory, but also if you're bold enough to contact, and like everyone you've ever coached is the challenge, right? Because you don't know who's going to come back, but also you don't know which conversation for 15 minutes 2 years ago has changed someone's life. And what a different experience it would be in those moments of real doubt when you're thinking, why the hell am I doing this? To be like, just remember the ripple, and remember that conversation I had 2 years ago on my coaching course is still the compass that person comes back to in her struggling moments, or is still led to this stuff that I never heard about. And of course, there'll probably be some people who come back and say it had no impact, and then you have to probably embody that. But mostly people are too polite to do that. So Robin, tell me, we were talking about money before. Is that still where you'd like to go next, or how can I support you in this moment?
Yeah, I had a little think about that topic, and I realized it was a bit all over the place. And what's coming to me now is it's a touchy subject. So I guess for me right now, how it's changed is I'd really like a bit more clarity about how important it is for coaching. Like, would it be as effective purely from a result standpoint if it was free for some people, like, or yeah, just basically on the spectrum of what's affordable for people. How much should you charge? It's an important question.
Yeah. What's the answer? What's your instinct?
I guess you want to charge who you want to attract.
There's a filter. The charges give a filter. I think that's part of it. On coaching stuff, there's so many, working with Rich, such a pleasure, and there's so many great stories he tells. There's a great one when Steve Chandler, who's the other author of The Prosperous Coach, is, I think, coaching Rich at the time. So he's Rich's coach. And this guy comes to Rich and wants to work with him. And then, so Rich knows what Steve is charging him. It's quite a lot. And Rich, the story is something like this. And the guy says, in the end, he's like, sorry, Rich, I'm not going to work with you. It was just too much for me in the end, too big an investment. And this is a difficult thing because he wants the client, he wants to work with him. And then he's really hit when the guy says, yeah, I decided to work with Chandler instead because he was way cheaper. And Rich is like, what? But I know how much you charge. This doesn't make any sense. And apparently Steve Chandler has a beautiful way of just creating something for each client in the moment. I think it's one of the real challenges of that book is that it's a book of paradoxes. So it says in one chapter, charge loads and loads and loads, and another chapter, don't charge much, fill your practice. It's like, what the hell am I supposed to do with that? I think one of the important things about money is that if you don't have any money, you can't really do the work. And I mean, if you don't really have any money, how will you continue to do this? But maybe the interesting question is, if you had all the money in the world, or if you lived in if you won the lottery and you'd won $1 billion, because $1 million, weirdly in this world, probably doesn't go far enough. If you won $1 billion, how would you charge for coaching?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best place to approach it from. I really like that lens of viewing it. Like, if money weren't an issue.
Because here's the thing, it's really hard to sell when you really need the money. Because it's just true, and it's unpleasant for you, and it's a bit icky for the client, I think. So the beautiful place to try it, this is a fun game to try and play with yourself. I play it like, if I was a really successful coach, what would I be doing now? Because no one really believes that, most people have moments when they really doubt that they're successful, or they're successful enough, whatever it is. If I was really successful, what would I be doing right now? And this call is a good example, right? If I was really successful, I wouldn't worry about recording a call where I don't know what's going to happen and putting it out to the world. And it's a fun one to play with money, right? If I was really successful, how much would I charge? And you're not held to this, right? You're not held to whatever you say in this moment, but let's play in that place. If you had $1 billion in the bank and you had the house, the beautiful place, wherever it is that you'd want to live, and you had all the cars and all the stuff, more stuff than you need, and the money was still there, how would you charge for your work? Would you still do work? You might not.
Sounds okay to me. I'll charge the same amount that I'm charging now. So,
Why? Why is that the right answer?
I don't know. It's just, I don't feel like there's much reason behind it. It's just how much I charge, and it feels right. The feeling's there.
It feels right is a good. How much should you charge? What feels right? That's a pretty good compass for it. You got to. I think I would always be thinking like, a lot of us, especially like a lot of us have a story, especially if we haven't been self-employed before. I think a really tough story about charging for my own time. So I think you got to be careful that you're not underestimating it, but also you got to be careful you're not like pushing yourself too far, because it's what it says on websites you should do. What feels right? Is that a satisfying answer to the question, or is it an annoying answer to the question, or somewhere in between?
No, completely satisfying. I guess the moment you start feeling wrong about it, that's usually a good indicator. Either you're not valuing yourself, what you're doing enough, or you're not allowing your client to value it more by paying more for it as well. So it's a fine balance.
Yeah. Can you tell us, for you in this moment, tell us about the feeling of right?
I feel like it's an intersection between the minimum required for the person that I'd like to work with, which is close to, in my own belief, what I believe is the right value to charge. So it's just an intersection of all these different factors, objections around money, the role it plays in the coaching process as a hurdle to signing up to coaching, just all that all together just feels right.
I was smiling because I was remembering what Justine said. It feels like it's just all those things coming together in the moment. All those things, and then it feels right. And can you tell us physically what the feeling is like?
Feel kind of at ease. There's not too much more going on. Like I feel kind of blank actually, but it's a good kind of blank.
Yeah. And I guess you can look for that feeling. Like that feeling is probably always there in some way inside you. And when you need it, you can look for it and know what feels right. And then here's a little bit of kind of supervision or my experience. It's okay if that changes from person to person. Sometimes for me it does. What feels right for one person doesn't feel right for another person. And that's interesting. And we could go into the intellectual stuff behind that if we wanted to. But I don't think it's that useful right now. I think you can do that yourself. You're easily clever enough to come up with the reasons why intellectually, you don't need my experience to come up with the reasons why intellectually different prices might be valuable for different people. But I just think like that compass that you're talking about, does it feel right, is a powerful one.
Yeah, thank you.
Does it feel right to, this feels kind of, this part of the conversation feels complete now? Does that feel the same to you?
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful, thank you. Yoni, how are you doing now? How's the cat?
Yeah, I'm good. Also, the phone's charged. Keep you
Beautiful.
updated with all the technical things. So I'll put my headphones back on now. It makes it easier to listen and talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So what's going on for you in this moment? It could be just like, oh, I'm stressed out about having to move the cat, or it could be, why won't the phone stand up? Or it could be like it's something you've taken away. I guess what I'm really interested in, actually, no, that's what I'm interested in. What have you just taken away, like from that,
I
that
just got
piece of the call?
catapulted back into conversations that you and I've been having about exactly the same topics. How much do you charge for the work you do? What's holding you back from charging? Do you not want to charge too much because you're afraid you won't get any clients? Then again, it can be important to take on clients to get more experience yourself and build your confidence. Also, sometimes you just really, really want to help a person, and you feel the connection, and it doesn't really matter that they can only offer X amount. So yeah, I was reflecting on that while I was listening.
Yeah, it's a fascinating part of the conversation and part of the business. And yeah, the two other thoughts that came to my mind when you were just saying that, I'm actually going to share. One is, I've settled on some new fees like about 6 months ago, maybe. And I had to go beyond them to realize that felt too much.
Right.
Sometimes, and it didn't feel right now. And so then I came back. So I feel a bit sad because there were 3 or 4 people that I quoted a higher fee to than I probably would quote them if they arrived now, although I might be flexible around that. But it's powerful to say the words, to say the scary number, at least to yourself or to a loved one. It's best not to do a loved one, actually. One of my friends who's a coach was saying when she talked to her husband about the fee she was going to quote this woman, she was feeling nervous about it. She talked to her husband. He was like, "That is an extraordinary amount of money," because he doesn't work in coaching. And then she talked to me about it, and I was like, "Mate, you need to like double that. You're worth way more." And so loved ones aren't necessarily the best people, but saying the words is powerful. And the other thing that's funny, just my version of the Chandler Litvin story is, at the moment, I've worked with this amazing coach. She's been coaching for decades. She's got like, I don't know, 15,000 hours of coaching, and she charges quite a lot less than me. So I feel a bit nervous about, like, she becomes a person that I would refer clients who can't afford to work with me to, which is absolutely fascinating, right? It's like, this doesn't make any sense. And yet it just feels right. It feels right for her. She could charge way more if she wanted to, right? But it feels right for her. She gets to create her beautiful lifestyle and do the work she wants to with the people she wants to. She probably does charge some people more. If she watches this, she'll probably start charging me more. But like, and my fees feel right for me because I want to create a different balance of work and business and different engagements. And she structures her work incredibly different to me. It's just like, it really does feel like I didn't know that was the answer that Robin has just given us, but I think it is really it. If when you can trust that your feeling is you, the deeper you, the truer you, and not your worries and your stories, then when it feels right, what feels right is the answer.
Yeah, just get rid of all the internal voices or whatever you want to call them, telling you that this is a ridiculous amount of money to charge, or people will walk away, or who are you to ask this amount of money? And that can be really hard sometimes. But it's something I'm still struggling with and learning to, as you were just saying to Robin, in order to be able to do this work and to help the people we want to help and to work with the people we want to work with, we do have to have a healthy financial base ourselves, and otherwise we can't even show up and do this work with them. So yeah, don't undersell yourself, and it's so much easier to say that to someone else than to actually put it in practice.
Everyone's like, yeah, don't undersell yourself, and then till tomorrow,
Don't look at my rates.
half my rates quickly in the moment.
Yeah, but also in the another thing to maybe tie into this is what we were talking about earlier on with Justine. There can be so much value in coaching, and I think this is one of the great things that I learned during my coaching school training, was to be coached myself, to actually experience what it can do to you, so you feel less bad actually putting a price tag on it when you work with people, because it can really make a huge difference to their lives, and they can find a job and a girlfriend in 1 month. So yeah, after just one benign conversation. So I think that's, yeah, you shouldn't forget, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's really important. And it's why I say, I mean, like, coaches should get coaching, because that is a great example of it. So you can
always
embody the
keep
value,
reminding yourself,
because if your life has changed from this, then suddenly I think it was like, after the coaching school, the first coach I paid, it was 2,000 euros. Felt like an extraordinary amount of money. Felt like I would never, like, and my life was totally transformed by that coaching engagement. And then I signed up for another one, and it was transformed again. And you can't underestimate that. So Yoni, tell me.
Yes.
Well, we don't have to. Like, how do you want to play now?
Oh, I would want to give you an answer to the question you asked earlier on, right? About how to communicate being multi-passionate. Was that the question?
It was, but I got a better question. Do you want to play a game?
Yes.
Now? It's not a funny game. It's like a deep, serious game, but we can play it. You up for that?
Yep.
So, because you said, I want some wisdom from you guys about this, but I am interested in what wisdom you have, because you know this better than any of us. You know the wisdom you need. So what I invite you to do is close your eyes and put your hand on your heart. And then take 3 deep breaths. And then tell me, Yoni, what's the deepest wisdom that you feel in this moment?
Well, it's more an image that comes to me now, which is my worry about trying to explain to people that.
I'm going to just invite you to just stay close, stay with the hand on. But please, tell us about the image.
Well,
put your hand on your heart as well. Keep it there, so you can really connect to that.
The first image was connected to images that I've been assembling for my website, which is a work in progress and has been for a long time. It's very busy, very crowded, confusing, not clear. And then that gradually disappeared, and instead of it, I can now see white, bright, spacious image with clear lettering, as if to say it's not as confusing, as complicated as some internal voices might tell me, or outer voices might tell me. But actually, this is my truth, and this is who I am, and I will find a way to make that, to translate that into images that will speak to people who it is meant to speak to.
Put your hand back on your heart and tell me, take a deep breath. And then tell me, what's the deepest wisdom that you feel in this moment?
It's not so much wisdom, it's more I can now feel how frightened I am to take the next step into communicating what it is I want to be doing. So I can actually feel the fear that's been holding me back. Which I would not necessarily call wisdom, but in a way I guess it is. Because it's something I've not been acknowledging for a long while, and I am now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Take another deep breath in. Tell me, what's the deepest wisdom that you feel in this moment?
That I will have to be very gentle to myself, and I have to help myself go through, I guess, a bit of a struggle or messiness, mud, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be easy to create this website, which for me will be the visualization and the way, like, to show to the world what it is I do and also who I am. But I've been putting it off long enough now, and I should just get on with it.
Take a deep breath. Yoni, what's the deepest wisdom you feel in this moment?
That it's actually going to be fun. Yeah, I just catch myself laughing now because it's, yeah, I know so many people who've already done what I am about to do, and it's actually totally not scary, and it can also just be a really interesting and exciting process. So what I'm feeling now is it's something I want to approach from curiosity rather than fear, like Liz Gilbert would say.
Take a deep breath one last time. What's the deepest wisdom you feel in this moment?
I feel relieved and excited.
When you're ready, come back and join us. I'm just going to leave you with that just for a sec. Justine or Robin, is there anything that either of you wants to share in this moment? No? That's nice. Oh, Robin?
I'll share. I notice that we have the power to reassure ourselves, but sometimes we just don't do it. And just having that second presence really can help, because I felt that secondhand for myself as I was watching and listening to that process. So it's sometimes all we need is that little bit of belief rather than any advice or anything like that.
That's a powerful message. We can reassure ourselves, but we often don't do it. And sometimes you need some help. So Yoni, what's going on? I'm just going to ask the same question again. I'm going to share it back with you. You've got it on the recording. The deepest wisdom is busyness, crowdedness, confusingness, not clear, changing to white, bright, spacious, and clear. It's not as confusing as the voices might tell you. You'll find a way to speak to the people that you want to speak to. The deepest wisdom is you're frightened and you haven't been acknowledging it. The wisdom is you'll have to be very gentle with yourself. You'll have to help yourself. Perhaps you'll have to reassure yourself, like Robin says, to go through this, because it'll be a bit of a struggle. There will be messiness. There will be mud. It's not going to be easy, but you should just get on with it. Now is the moment, just as you've just done when you started to smile. And then you said, it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting and exciting. And you need to approach from curiosity. You feel relaxed and excited. So if I've got a nice feeling, I've got a feeling of relaxedness as well. So thank you for playing. That's an exercise. The question I change a bit, but the exercise in the hand on heart comes from a guy called Richard Strozzi-Heckler. You can look him up. Let me write that down because that's hard to spell. I learned it on a Coaches Rising training I did last year. And it's really just a way of helping people connect into a deeper part of themselves. And it's not always, but it's, for me, it's asking the same question several times is an incredibly powerful and fascinating coaching tool. And often that's the kind of fascinating, insightful, deeply wise journey that you go on with a client when you ask them for the deepest wisdom or the deepest truth. And I think we all, I'm pretty sure that everyone, I certainly did, I'm pretty sure that all of us have absorbed some of that wisdom that you shared, Yoni. So thank you very much. So I'm going to bring the call to an end now. It's been beautiful to play with you all. Maybe I won't actually, but we're going to do a round of checking out. And in honor of what Justine and I were talking about a bit earlier, like, what are you going to do differently? Or what are you going to do? Like, let's find a way, a place. We need to keep it reasonably short because it's late in Australia. But if you could share one insight, one important insight. I sometimes ask, if I could guarantee that there was one thing from this call that you wouldn't forget, what would it be? So that, and then one action that you're going to take as a result of this call. Does that make sense? One insight, one action. Justine.
Okay, so yeah, thank you, Yoni and Robin for your contributions. And this feels like another moment where things kind of all come together. It's like I was speaking about the trust. That's really important for me. And you spoke, Robin, about I come to a decision because this is what feels right. And then the process, just then, Robbie leading Yoni through the wisdom. As those things all really go together, the feeling right and the trust and the wisdom. Mm. So I don't know if it's quite an insight, but it was, it's really beautiful. I think that those three things all come together.
Yeah, I'm going to catch this. I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, I wouldn't know this, but I'm going to catch this. This is part of the power of having the four of us on the call.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So we get themes, we get threads that come together into a story. And I think you're right. I think that's the story of this call.
And I wasn't expecting that. That's been really, really lovely. I was expecting, yes, you'd have a conversation with one of us and the other, and it's been much more, blended and bouncing off each other. So that's really beautiful.
And
And
then tell
my
us,
action,
what are you going to do?
my action is, just to take myself more often. I do sometimes, but more often through a process like the one that you just led Yoni through. I haven't done that one exactly, but I do various different things. But yeah, I really like that. So.
Yeah, and then I'm going to do that thing that other client found awkward sometimes. Like, I want you to be more specific on that. So when is, like, just to bottom line it, when is it most important that you take yourself? Because I know, like, your experience is a great example of everything coming together, right? Your experience is, I'm sure, full of practices like that. Like, I know that about you. There'll be a choice of things you can do, different ways you can play with yourself. When is it most important that you take yourself through a practice like that?
Well, when I start to doubt, when the self-doubt comes up.
I don't know what your self-doubt is like. My self-doubt is like, if I'm feeling self-doubt, I will be feeling it about the practice as well. The doubt will be like, yeah, I don't think it's even worth doing the practice because I'm so terrible at doing practices. It's like, it's not even worth doing it. You might as well just go and sit and cry. That's the kind of thing mine will be saying to me. So I'm being a bit jokey, but I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to leave you with, I wonder if you should structure it in.
I think that's great.
Of that.
It was only this morning that I was thinking about, I'm much more of an unstructured person, and how valuable it would be for me to structure more things in, because it's a different type of energy than I'm naturally inclined to. So I think, yes.
Yeah, and it's that fun thing, like your genius, your zone of genius is probably pretty unstructured. But I wonder what will happen if we can take that unstructuredness, which is beautiful and wonderful, and add like 4% structure to it. And it might just multiply everything by 4 or 10 or whatever. And the other thing from my story, I might have shared this with any or all of you before, to get myself to practice mindfulness or centering or breathing, I couldn't do it. I had to tie it to coaching sessions. So that my only mindfulness meditation centering practice pretty much happens just before coaching sessions, but I've made it so that it happens before everyone, pretty much.
Yeah.
So on a day, if I'm coaching 3 or 4 people in a day, I'm doing 30 or 40 minutes. And the challenge I've got is the days when I don't coach, I tend to like feel more anxious and enjoy them less. And like, what's that about? And it's like, I need to just, sort myself out with that practice. But that was easier for me because I could feel the results straight away when I realized that, oh, right, if I do 5 minutes of this, my coaching is going to be 15% better. Why wouldn't I do it? And that's the kind of way I had to trip myself into it. But a bit more structure. Really nice. Robin, tell us an insight and an action.
Yeah, I just really found a huge amount of joy listening to everyone. So thank you very much to Yoni, Justine, and Robbie for facilitating this whole thing. My insight is really the ripple effect, that just remembering that image whenever there's any self-doubt is something, if I could remember forever, that's what I'd like to do.
Nice.
And the tangible action is really asking for my fee without any remorse or hesitance. It's easier to say than do, but really right now the way I'm feeling is unapologetic about it, and it serves its purpose, which is really important.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think the cat was coming to say, right on, man. Thanks, Robin. Yoni, tell us about an insight and an action.
Well, I guess the insight is whenever I'm in a situation like now, I mean, this is extraordinary, being able to talk to 3 wonderful coaches in the space of 1 hour. So thank you all very much for that. But I just remember how much I love being in real conversations and to really connect. In fact, one of the things that what my business and my coaching practice is about is it's about creating spaces where you can actually have this connection. So the insight is it's wonderful to be reminded of that, and the action is do more of this, but to make it tangible and actually workable, I promise I'll pick up the phone today and make an appointment with people who are building my website so I can really share my story.
Beautiful. Thank you. Justine, Robin, Yoni, thank you all so much. It's been I mean, I knew it would be because I invited you all, right? And I know what wonderful people you are, and we've done work before and all those things, but it's been a real privilege today and super fun for me. I'm feeling very grateful and very present, and it's set me up for a beautiful Monday. So thank you so much for this. And just again, I want to really, really emphasize this. Thank you from anyone who's watching, that they will be very grateful for the courage and the vulnerability and the honesty that you've all brought today. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'm feeling a little bit sad that this is maybe the only time that the four of us are on a call together, so we could always do that again in a different way. But overall, thank you so much and have beautiful days.